Today I'm going to reveal what is the most dangerous nutrient that people consume. What's the most dangerous thing that people consume in their diet? Is it lettuce with norovirus on it? Is it... what else could it be? Is it tomatoes? Tomatoes with their toxic alkaloids? Is it potatoes with their alkaloids or whatever is in potatoes? Solanine? Is it, what else could it be? Red kidney beans? They're kind of poisonous when they're not cooked. Is it any of these things? No. Quite simply, the most harmful nutrient that people eat is saturated fat. And I don't even know if you call it a nutrient. So let's think about this for a while in saturated fat. Why is this the biggest, most dangerous thing? Quite simply, the biggest killer in the Western world is heart disease. You could say cancer, but there's a lot of different types of cancer. Cancer is pretty big as well. Supposedly in Scotland, cancer is kind of taken over heart disease. But heart disease and cancer. But let's say heart disease because historically it's been the biggest one. And in America it's still the biggest one. So heart disease is the biggest killer caused by saturated fat in the diet. That's it. So what's the worst nutrient to consume? The one that causes the thing that kills most people, surely. Surely that makes a lot of sense. Now, saturated fat is not a required nutrient in the human diet. It's not an essential nutrient. It is something that our body creates. It is something that all plant-eating animals, we create it from the food we eat. We take in fats, fatty acids from other plants. We change those fats into some of them, not all, we change them into the fat we use, we store some of them, we use them in different ways. And if an animal eats us, what's it going to eat? It's consuming our saturated fat, our human saturated fat. Partly at least anyway. So we take in unsaturated fats from plants, we turn them into saturated fat. Kind of interesting. So what's the problem with taking in saturated fat from an animal? Well, it's an animal's saturated fat. And what we'd have to do is break it down in order to use it as our own saturated fat. But we don't really need that much of it. We don't need to take it in such a high volume. And that's the problem, is why people take it in such a high amount. So we take it in a high amount. It still needs to go through our digestive system. It goes through our bloodstream. And the idea is that one of the big indicators towards heart disease is high cholesterol. And cholesterol is, I believe this is how it works, it transports the saturated fat. It's one involved in the transport of saturated fat. So the higher your diet is in saturated fat, the more cholesterol, higher your cholesterol. It's directly linked. And that's an indicator towards a risk of heart disease. When we consume foods that are high in saturated fat over a long period of time, but for many people it's already happening in childhood, in your teenage years, in their 20s. I'm realising that some of you probably haven't heard this information, so I might go over it a little bit. What happens is your arteries get damaged. They get inflamed, they get damaged by a constant transport of saturated fat, by constantly putting all this fat and animal fat through your own bloodstream. The arteries get damaged. Our arteries get damaged. That damage leads to the plaquing of the artery. And what happens is that artery starts to plaque, and that plaque builds up on the inside, and then the pathway through which the blood can flow gets narrower like that. Narrower and narrower and narrower and narrower and narrower. And then if one day a bit of plaque falls off, breaks off and starts running down your bloodstream, it then hits into this gap and it closes it up. And if that is in one of your carotid arteries, then that is what we call good night nurse. That is you dead, basically. Not always, you might survive it, whatever, but there's no blood can get to your heart, and you're going to die pretty quick. and that's how most people die. That is literally how most people die. Because one of these arteries to supply the heart gets, over time, thinner and thinner and thinner, and then it either closes up, or what actually they say happens is another piece of plaque breaks off, runs down the artery, and blocks the remaining hole, and that's you dead. And you could be fit and healthy in every single other way. Well, you're probably not, but but you could be. But one of your arteries just got blocked. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't reach in and unblock it. If it was only as easy as that, because that's all it is. And that's how people are dying. That's how people are taking 10, 20, 30, 40 years off of their life. And it happens because people are eating a diet that they were given as a child innocently, and the parents gave it to them ignorantly, thinking it was the best or a good diet, whatever, and gave them this diet high in saturated fat. Now, how did we discover this, and how are we so sure that this is the case? Because I know that some of you low carb people don't understand this. Some of you carnivore people, you've not researched this, you don't really understand this. I get that, otherwise you wouldn't be doing what you're doing. But many, many moons ago, some smart people realised, how come everyone in this country is dying of heart disease? Everyone in this country isn't. What's the difference here? Maybe it's race. Let's have a look at that. No, it's not race. Maybe it's exercise. Let's have a look. No, it's not exercise. Maybe it's genetics. Oh, it's not genetics. Maybe it's diet. Do you think? Oh, we don't really want it to be diet. Okay, maybe it is diet. And oh no, it's diet. It is diet. Damn, it's diet. Oh, it's meat. Oh, it's meat and dairy. It's stuff that we like to eat. And they didn't want it to be the case because they were all meat eaters as well, you know. And but they realised squarely the fact that all the countries eating the high saturated fat diet were getting heart disease. All the countries that weren't. I don't know if you low carb people know this stuff, but some of you research it, and the low carb people. Ansel Keys was the guy that worked all this stuff out, or one of them, and a lot of low carb people try and debunk Ansel Keys, and they don't know what they're talking about at all. You got to understand this. The guys that say this in the low carb community, they don't have a clue what they're talking about. They don't have a clue. Ansel Keys' research and all that stuff has been continually backed up again and again and again and again. Science doesn't just buy an idea and then just say, okay, that guy must be right. They test it over and 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 over. Saturated fat causes heart disease is one of the main things we know about nutrition and its connection to disease. It's one of the most standard, basic, absolute things that we can say. And furthermore, it has been proven in a number of studies that when we took the saturated fat out of a person's diet, and took the fat out of a person's diet in general, that the process of heart disease could be stopped and could be reversed. So that was further proof. Now, what's kind of scary is that they've done autopsies on children and they've done them on teenagers, and they've already seen this process of the disease of the arteries happening at a very early age. It's already happening in children. It's happening in teenagers in our world. And it continues to happen. The body is so incredibly strong and resilient that it resists it for a very long time. Unbelievable. Amazing how strong the body is. And, you know, it's that all this stuff is conclusive. The only reason that we're not taking it seriously is because people don't want to believe it. People don't want to believe it. And it's just real, you know. And it's just weird that all this low carb stuff and carnivore stuff, it just shows how poorly educated we are when it comes to nutrition. It really is. And how a lot of nutrition education, unfortunately, is funded by the wrong sources, who want to confuse the situation and everything. And the dairy industry that have funded a lot of school programs and things like that, trying to get people to think that dairy is a part of your healthy, the milk of a cow is a part of our diet. So ridiculous ideas. Anyhow, saturated fat is the most dangerous thing that people consume because the rest of our diet's pretty good and pretty easy and doesn't most of it doesn't cause that much disease. But animal products do in a massive ways, not just saturated fat, a number of other things. Anyway, simple, basic, go and research it for years if you like, you're going to find the same conclusion. Everyone that says that that's not the case is lying to you, is confused, is misquoting the research. It's kind of like, you know, I want to say it's like the earth being round or whatever, but a lot of you probably don't think that's the case either, so it's like the sun comes up in the morning or something. It's just something that we know happens, right? So it's one of those things. If you want to learn more about this stuff, keep subscribe to this channel. If you want to come and learn about the raw vegan lifestyle, you've got to come to the UK Fruitfest 2019. Best time of your life, guaranteed. 21st to the 28th of July, Croft Farm Water Park, Tewkesbury, Gloucestershire. We're going to have a big party, but you're going to get some amazing education. You're going to meet some great people. It's all about the people, really, and you're going to have tremendous food, even better this year and next year. And if you want to come along to our group in Glasgow, link below for information about that group. And if you want to coach with me, link below as well. If you want to join the newsletter, and I'll let you know when I'm opening up coaching again. Thanks for watching the videos. Thanks for staying interested. Please feel free to comment below, add your ideas, suggestions, comments, and I'll see you in the next video.